dreamers, and welcome back to Dream Queen by Perla. As always, guys, thank you for all your love and support. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing to the channel. And if you haven't done so, I encourage you to do so. It helps with growing the channel, getting the video out there for more people, as well as keeping me accountable. For personal readings, all that information can be found down below in the description. My shirt says, "This is the way," is the Mandalorian. Okay. So Sagittarius, I don't know why I had to explain that to you, but I had to, so I did. Sagittarius, we have this energy for you guys of overcoming disappointment. Now, when we talk about disappointment, this can be anything, right? These are general readings, guys, so please keep that in mind when you're watching. So any disappointments, right? Disappointment of something that didn't go your way, disappointment on something that you were expecting that didn't come through, disappointment within yourself for not showing up for yourself, disappointment, disappointed in somebody else for betraying you, whatever it is, regardless of anything, is overcoming that disappointment energy. Because whatever it was that disappointed you, you really, it's like it's stuck right here, like in my throat. But it's like you really, really, really took it to heart. Like this really bothered you. Now, again, this can involve other people, but for the most part, I feel like this is more of you were probably beating yourself up for not seeing something or for not realizing something a lot sooner. And you have to stop doing that to yourself, because you have to get to a point where you accept the fact that sometimes you don't know any better, right? Even if you should have, even if you think you should have known better, sometimes you just don't. It's almost kind of like, there was a quote that I read that said, knowing better is a journey, but doing, what is it? Doing better. No, but actually applying yourself. Okay, I can't remember the quote, and I'm pretty sure, like, if I go into, and I can't remember if I saw it in Facebook or if I saw it in Instagram, and I wanted to save it, and for some reason I didn't, to be honest with you. It was just one of those things, because I really, I think it was Facebook, because nothing there is looking familiar. Maybe I shared it, let's see, because sometimes I do share things just so I can remember. No. Let's see. It was about like, that's not it. That was probably something I saw yesterday or this morning. It is basically like, you know, sometimes you know better, but it's not until you actually start applying the changes, right, to match what you've learned or what you know, that actually counts, right? And it's a journey in itself, like applying the changes or however it went. When I find it, if I remember, I'll remember, but when I find it, I'll definitely share it with you guys, because it really like, when I read it, I was like, oh shoot, that's like, yeah, like, that's a whole journey in itself, right? I can sit here and I can know so many things, but until I don't start applying them, it's kind of almost like useless, right? And it's kind of like that application, like that applying those lessons and that wisdom of what you've learned into your daily life is a lesson in itself. And you guys have to give yourself credit. Like, okay, maybe you knew better at that moment, but for whatever the reason, you weren't ready to apply that change, and that's fine. You need to allow yourself to have that space to know that it is okay, that not every single moment or every single time you're going to get it, right? Or you're going to see it right before. Sometimes you don't see something until you're in it or until afterwards. And again, the more that you apply the changes and you apply the things that you've learned, the more that then you're able to see things before they actually happen. You see them coming, so then you know how to prepare yourself for them. But there are certain things that again, you may have been distracted with other things in life or whatever it was. And this is for those of you that are disappointed within yourself. Maybe you were distracted with other things, and that's why you're going to see something clearly. And if this is a disappointment about, like, you know, things not coming when you want them, remember, your prayers, your goals, whatever you do, your spells, whatever, are usually answered in 3 ways. Yes, here it is. No. And I got something better. Actually, I said 4 because sometimes it's like not yet. For whatever the reason. So it's 4, right? So it's kind of like looking at it from that point of view is really what you guys have to focus on. But you're definitely in this energy of overcoming whatever disappointment was in your energy. And I like it for you guys because it is you're finally, when it comes to this specific thing, are giving yourself a break. Let's put it that way. So let's go ahead and let's pull out 3 tarot. Give me 3 cards for Sag. We have the 7 of Swords in the reverse. We have the Moon. And then we have the 4 of Wands. Again, there's always going to be things that you're not going to see coming. You're not going to be prepared for every single situation as far as like knowing what is coming, but you will be prepared in the way that you're equipped with everything to handle anything that is thrown your way, even if you don't know what it is until you see it, that like that moment, like that right that second, right? So one of the things is like, okay, let's put it this way, you're driving, right? And I think I've said this before, right? I was driving one day and I had to drive and I didn't want to drive. And it wasn't that I felt anything. I just didn't want to drive. I wanted to stay home. And I started driving, and literally like 5 minutes into the highway, my car breaks down. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? And I'm opening the hood and I'm checking this and I'm checking lights and I'm checking everything, and there's like nothing wrong with we had an appointment. So I called and I was like, we're not gonna make it. My car broke down. Long story short, we were on the side of the highway for like about 10 or 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden my car starts up again. And then we drive home with no issues, and we drove the car with no issues, right? And then there was another time where I really didn't see it coming. My car stopped reading my key. So every time I put my key in I parked and I was waiting for my son to come. I was picking him up. So I had parked the car and I turned the car off, right? But the key was still in the ignition. And then I went to get out of the car to get something. So I had pulled the key out, and then I went back in like literally seconds later, and I put the key in, and I'm trying, and it's like, it's showing me the light like blinking, like the car is not reading. It's like the auto theft came up in my car. And I'm like, but this is my key card. This is like the only key I have with me right now. And I'm like 30 minutes away from home. I'm like, what do you mean? And I remember like I started to like spiral, and I was like, no. What is this auto theft, and how can we like fix this? Because we're getting home tonight. And I remember I sat there, like before I even started looking anything online or anything, I just sat there with my son, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna start breathing for like, you know, to kind of calm myself down, and then I'm gonna look online. And then I had already called certain people, like, you know, come, like, you need to come and get me, like, I don't know, like, we need a tow truck, like, and all of this other stuff. And then I'm sitting there, and then I finally, like, decide to open up my phone, and I look, I'm like, okay, how can I overpass this? Like, what can I do? And then it showed me, so, like, I found something, like, what do you do? And I did it, and it worked. So then I started driving. So, of course, I had to call back, and I was like, hey, I'm on my way, so don't come and get me, this and this and that. And I drove home. And ever since, the car has never done it again, right? But at that moment, I could have given into the fact that I was starting to spiral out of control, right? And I could have been disappointed with myself. But I noticed when I started spiraling out of control, because again, I went to pick him up to just come right back home. And the fact that I just wanted to come home because it was late was going to get me into that energy of like getting upset and getting into like everything. And I was like, no, like I caught myself. And then I'm like, you know what? I handle that pretty well. Now, next time I'm in a situation like that, I'm just going to take one breath and then I'm going to go ahead and Google or YouTube what I can do, right? Regardless of the situation. But that's kind of like how, those are just kind of like two different examples to kind of put it into perspective. So let's go ahead and let's pull out a love energy. Now, this can be platonic, romantic. This can be your passion for your career or your hobby. And this, or the energy for yourself. We have Cupid's arrow, have faith, love is coming, surprise invitation, meeting, or hesitation. So there is definitely this energy that, again, you're moving away from the disappointment energy. There may be a little hesitation here and there. And to be honest with you, the only thing that you really have to do, Sag, is just to kind of give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. Be a little bit easier with yourself. And allow yourself space to grow. Because through those challenges or those failures, if you want to call them failures, is when we grow. We get to see what limitations we put up for ourselves, and when we actually show up for ourselves, what are our strong, like our strength, and what are our weaknesses, right? And that's a beautiful thing. So let's go ahead and let's pull out an oracle card for your closing message. One card, Spirit. Feast of Plenty, number 20. Choices and their consequences. That's all it is. Every choice has a consequence. So how you choose to perceive things is a completely different thing, right? So instead of next time when you're in a similar situation for whatever it is that you're disappointed, try and look at it from a different perspective, and realize that, yeah, there are going to be things that are not going to work the way that you planned or the way that you wanted them to, but they are working the way that they're meant to, whether you like it or not. Well, guys, that is all that I have. Sending every single one of you love, strength, and blessing, guys. Take care. Love you all. Mom. Bye-bye.